tomorrow.
What do you do after you read? What do you do after you know all, right? And you can say that you're truly conscious. How are you putting what you know into action?
Checkity check.
What's up, y'all? It's always something here. But this is New Black History Makers Show. We are at the Good News Network, and I'm not alone. As always, I'm never by myself. But today we are talking about Black History Month. This is our last episode during the month. That we haven't seen a lot of conversations around Black Future Month, around not celebrating Black History Month, or around continuing to celebrate it. So that's why we're going to come in here and talk about it. If you have a business and would like some advertisement or need help with marketing, this is the place for you. So we are reserving this spot for people that want to sponsor our shows. We have not put the advertisement out for it, but it is coming. So if you're watching or if you know anybody, have a business, this space is reserved for you. DM us at New Black History Makers to catch that deal, catch that opportunity. But yeah, this is the show. This is episode 7. So thank y'all for being here. So I have Michael and Nash. Nash was here before. We talked about Black men and mental health.
I'm back.
So, right, Nash is back.
I got 2 out of 7. I'm shooting right from the field.
Right. So, for those of you guys who listen to the show, you know, we always ask the generic question of, how are you doing? But then for my belief, I think it's important for us to ask different questions as well. So we'll ask the generic, how are you doing? And then any one of you guys can grab that. And then we'll go to the second question.
All right, I'll go. I'm doing good. That's a generic answer, you know. No, but in all honesty, I am great. I'm energized. I'm healthy. I'm alive. So, you know, with all of that, I just feel excellent.
That's good. What about you, Nash?
I'm splendid. I'm gonna give you a off the wall answer today, something non-generic. But no, I'm splendid, man. I just feel, you know, like rejuvenated. I feel focused. I also feel healthy and grateful. More than anything, grateful.
That's good. Not a lot of people feel healthy. So that's good. That's a good point. And then for me, I'm good. Busy weekend ahead of me, but good. Also like proud because you know, I'm starting to figure out this business stuff and it's not work, you know? So starting to figure it out so that I'm not like stressing myself out. So that's the thing. But yeah, so then the generic, I guess I answered it, but the generic, not the non-generic question is, what were you most proud of this week? Something you did that made you proud.
Man, I just killed the whole week. I was just organized.
So Nash is gonna be Nash.
No, I was organized, man.
I love that though.
You know, I finally stuck to the agenda. Like the one day that I was running late, I was like 40 minutes late for something. And I was like, damn, like I gotta make this up. But I was just so well organized with the rest of my day that 40, I could afford the 40-minute, you know, delay. So it just felt good that being organized and not having things kind of roll over. You know, I feel like part of what you were talking about with the work stress, for me, is when things pile up.
Yeah.
It's like, damn, you got all this shit to do. Yeah. But this week I didn't have that much to do because it was well organized. I did all of it. I killed it. So, yeah.
Shout out.
Proud of that.
What about you?
That's what's up. For me, I'm just most proud of sticking to my diet. You know, no meat. Yeah, I was slacking on that for a while, but I'm back at it. So I'm just happy to. That's why I feel energized. You know, it's just because I've been not eating meat all week. So yeah.
So how long have you been on this diet?
A week, literally.
Okay.
All this.
We celebrate that
for sure.
That's what's up.
Heck yeah.
And then, well, I'm always gonna ask questions, but what made you start the diet?
I don't know. I just felt like my energy was bad. And I'm not saying like waking up feeling sluggish, but just like overall energy. I just started feeling negative, and I feel like it has something to do with what I was consuming. So I just had to pull it back a little bit. No dairy, no meat. And stick to the juice and stick to the greens. You know, stuff that I can digest. And I've been feeling good all week.
Right. I love that. That's dope.
That
Yeah,
is
well,
fire. You are what you eat. So
you are. So again, if you have a business and you want to market it here on our show, this would be a space for
second
you.
spot. Second
Yes,
spot.
this is the second spot. But yeah, tap in with us for that. Now we're gonna have the intro. This segment is just about y'all. Like, tell us a little bit about what you do, who you are, who you serve. We know Nash's, but we have different listeners now, so we definitely want to
Of
hear
course.
it again.
I mean, look, I'm always down to reintroduce myself. I'm like on my Jay-Z, you know what I mean? These days. So, mental health professional, right? I'm a licensed therapist,
Mhm.
you know, and that's what I do. I work with people that are working on their mental health. So at this point, you know, my career is taking off because a lot more people are taking mental health serious.
Right.
So, you know, I feel good to be a clinician and an advocate for the field.
Right.
Yeah. See, I'm an educator by day, entrepreneur by trade. So I work with students every day, Black students to be specific, just making sure that they feel loved, they have everything that they need to be successful. Outside of that, like I said, entrepreneur by trade. So I put together events for independent artists that's looking for a platform, that wouldn't otherwise get opportunities to perform in the big city of Los Angeles. So much competition out there. So I make sure I do it for the home team, just create spaces and opportunity for us.
Yeah, and it's not enough hip hop, hip hop venues in the first place. You know, like a lot of places they'll let you have a hip hop night or
Yeah.
a hip hop hour.
But even then, they want you to play the top 40,
Yeah, you know, like it's not real rap. It's not actually for the culture. It's more about the bag. It's more about the flex and, you know, what it looked like versus what it is.
Yeah. And that's
So,
why music is so watered down today. We don't have enough emphasis on real music no more, in my
facts.
opinion.
No,
Right.
facts. I agree.
And Nash made the correlation earlier about the watered down example tying into our history.
Oh, yeah,
And the way
yeah.
that we're, and not that our history is watered down, but the way that it's presented to us. So if you're on the Facebook and if you're watching on YouTube, then you know that the title for today, or the question of the day, is to celebrate Black History Month or not. I know Kanye has been pushing, I think T-Pain. I don't know who else I've seen, but there's been a lot of conversations with the celebrities, I'll say, and a lot of people that I
Let's just
see.
say prominent people in our culture.
Okay, prominent
Because the
people
thing
in the
is,
culture. In the culture, or just prominent people because they got some money?
I think they prominent in the culture. You naming
Mhm.
T-Pain, right? Like T-Pain is responsible for a lot of mainstream behavior right now, like making it okay to date a stripper, right? That's part of the culture. You know what I mean? Like to go there and really spend your hard-earned money. He even saying in the song, "I worked hard for this, but
Mhm.
I'm about to go spend it because I'm in love with you."
Right.
And then a lot of dudes took that and started finding love in the club, like for real. And
Mhm.
even just the sound, the auto tune, it came out to the point where like T-Pain and Wayne, that was a thing, right?
Mhm.
Like duos now that you hear people dropping collab mixtapes and all that. Who you think that's from? T
Yeah. That
Wayne.
T
Like,
Wayne,
Mhm.
what you
yeah.
mean? So it's like, is he a celebrity? People ain't really dying to go see him, right? Like his celebrity is cool. It's dwindling. It ain't really what it
Mhm.
because he's so legendary, he don't need celebrity.
Well, that it's not about T-Pain.
I'm just saying that's an
It's just a
example.
descriptive
It's just an example.
of the people. So
But that's our history right now. You know what I mean? Like the things that person has meant. I'm watching this Kanye doc right now. Like
mhm.
this man took it upon himself to show you he is living history because he already knew. Like, and then just to see how hard it was for him to really get respect and the way he wanted the respect.
Mhm.
Because yeah, I know y'all value me, right? But like back to Black people's perception of themselves, right? If we really know how much we should be valued for our contributions to the culture,
Mhm.
you're not gonna take no little deal that you've been taking as far as like a female that's taking this modeling contract, right? To
Right.
take her clothes off. If the standard is there and the woman respects her value, then they getting way more money than $500 for the shoot.
That's a
Right.
fact.
They getting $5 million for the shoot. You
Right.
know what I mean? Because Kanye is telling you I'm a billionaire. way back then. He telling you like, this is y'all dream, this y'all American dream. My vision for myself is way greater and higher than this.
Right.
And it's like, all right, cool. We watching you walk in your real history that you made, and that's in like our lifetime.
Right. Well, and I think Black History Month, I don't think that is to celebrate the ones that are, at least from my perspective, those that are still here.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think when it comes to that question, and you can like tap into when it comes to should we celebrate Black History Month or not, I feel like it is, we already don't get our history enough.
Mm-hmm.
So to take away Black History Month is like taking away the parts that people that are not tapping into it on their own, the part that they're getting into it.
We just got to add to it. I think now that's what it's about. It's like what contributions, because the thing is, Black history we grew up learning, right? It was like our parents and grandparents' peers, so to speak. If you really put it in context,
And then
the
we
Black
just
Panthers
learned-
was in the 60s.
We just learned about the same people though, you know, like they're not adding, like you said, add to it. So in schools, the kids shouldn't just learn about MLK and Rosa Parks. Like they mattered, you know,
And they already learned about
deeper
them.
than that. You know what I'm saying? Like new Black history.
Mm-hmm.
So let's add to that.
Exactly.
It's a whole lot of people that are hidden figures that was marching along those people or that was helping create and engineer the stoplight, that we don't just need one figure. We need different people every day.
I want to know who was the first Black man to win a Super Bowl ring. Right? Like that's some history for real, because that's something that people can relate to.
Right.
Because I was watching the NBA celebrate their 75 years just with the All-Star weekend, right?
Mm-hmm.
One of the figures they highlighted was a Black dude who was the first Black man to be an All-Star from Oakland. I'm like, oh, that's tight.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, it just puts in perspective, like, okay, there was the first person to do a lot of stuff that we don't even think about, like you said.
And, you know, it's like, why not highlight the first Black woman that played in the NBA? You know, the only Black one, the only woman. But the fact that she's Black is like, wow, okay. Why is she a hidden figure?
Exactly.
She should be out here more. She should be exposed more. And more young women will get into playing the sport. And really fighting for that contract and really getting paid the money, you know.
So then how do we go from being those that are receiving the information to those that are giving the information? So whether that be in schools or that be just as adults, like, because there's a lot of adults where I know for me, where I'm like, oh, y'all be real proud during February, but I don't be knowing if y'all like being Black during the other 11 months. Like, I'm confused.
Well, I think it starts with promoting the media that's in existence, right? Like this show, for example, the Kaepernick series that's been out for a while. That wasn't just a Black History Month thing. CJ Walker's little document, the movie, like, you know, the series, I think on Netflix. I guess it was a series.
Yeah, it was a movie.
It was a movie, right? But I felt like it was well done. You know, that's having those conversations around what's in existence.
Yeah, it's all about sparking a conversation, you know, because all they claim our history to be is slavery and we this and we that. But in reality, it's so much more than that. You know, and I feel like conversations like this is what helps the masses, because eventually it'll go from 3 to 3,000 and so on and so forth. And so just by starting this is it's the right step in the right direction. It's a huge step in the right direction, rather.
Right. So then what about the actual month? Is that what, because I think you said it earlier, like I'm in the middle, right? Where, you know, a part of me is like, okay, well, no, get rid of the month, because to me, you can look at it from the glass half empty or the glass half full. Like, you guys are only giving us a month, or we're taking it and we're like, well, we celebrate ourselves this month. And then, like you said as well, but we should celebrate ourselves all the time.
At one point, wasn't it only Black History Week?
Yeah, it was just a week. You know,
and now it's Black History Month. And I feel like, well, what's after that? You know, because you know, we can have
no more days.
We can have a era, like a renaissance, like you know, the Chinese calendar. It's organized where every animal gets its year every so often, right? So what if it was aspect of it was like Black woman this year, Black man this year, switch it up. Like we're gonna celebrate Black women all year, then we're gonna celebrate Black men next year, and then the year after that we're just gonna celebrate Black women again, and so on and so forth. I think that's a different way of just having the blackness kind of expanded upon, so to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's about not settling. Like we said, all right, we'll take the month, but in reality, it's the fight should just continue. Like we're black every day, so as
Yeah.
long as I'm black every day, it's going to be celebrated every day.
Right.
Every
Yeah.
time I get in my car and I have to remind myself of all these different things to not do, and I'm not doing anything. There should be a celebration for just being able to get in the house. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
not just have to. We're only important from the 1st to the 28th. There's 2 other days.
You know, the thing is,
every other month.
Now that you just said that, you said we're only important, right?
Mm.
It got me thinking about all the media geared towards black people during this month. Then it makes sense because it's like, okay, we just can funnel all of our advertisements towards the black dollars and see what we can come up with.
Yeah.
Right? Like how much of this is really going to work on black people
Yeah.
during this month while they high and mighty or feeling themselves, like you said.
Yeah. Like a lot of people that are in those positions of like, higher power, or they have a platform, they only use their voice when it's relevant to them.
Yeah.
It's not every day that they're using their voice to fight harder and make it, like how the people that came before them and before them was doing it, like the MLKs and the Malcolm X's. They were fighting every day frontline, and they were doing stuff regardless.
For more than just their own, gratitude or their own agendas, right? Like I get it. I get exactly what you're saying. And I think that's probably why it's hard for us to rally around anything, because everybody pretty much self-centered. Or
it's become a culture to where if you don't have on this and you're not doing this, and you
if you're
can't
not
show
driving
your follower
that,
this, you're not really doing anything. And then when you having conversations like this and you are creating brands like that, it's like, oh, okay, so she thinks she's better than us. And it's like, nah, I'm just doing something that's important for our culture.
Right. And it's interesting too, because you do get like, I just think black people are not sure on where to stand, because you'll get black people that are like, oh, well, this is only for black people. And it's like, you should be happy that there's something that's exclusive to you. Like,
right.
And it's like, well, there's other pieces, but like initially my start was the I'm a New Black History Maker design. Like that was it. And it was like, that's what got me going. Now I've, decided to do the Watch Us Make History and then use the light bulb a little more. But I'm a New Black History Maker is and the brand is New Black History Makers. So that was the thing where they
what you're pushing harder than anything. I get it.
And they, will say, oh, well, this is that or whatever, or they'll sit up here and try to overly explain to me why we shouldn't just have black things, or and it's like, what, it's a confusing thing. And vending and then also just being out in the community, I get a lot of different conversations where you'll have like, it's I would like to think like a thorough thinker. So older people, and they're not even old, but they're just not our age. They're like in their 50s or 60s. They'll be like, well, I'm not a New Black History Maker. And I'm like, well, if you're breathing, then you can make history today that is not already made, like things like that. And it makes me think of like, oh, well, you must not really believe in your power then, because you should be able, you have the choice to make history whenever. Like, as long as you're breathing, you can make history. It might be on the wrong side, it might be on the right side, but like you have that.
You can do something that changes something.
Yeah, to change your life, to change the life of your offspring.
But that lets you know how just real oppressed we are mentally. Like it's a layer of oppression that we just haven't overcome yet. And that's the difference between us and like the people of African descent, right? Because they're not black people in Africa. They're African. They're people of African descent, right? And that's what we are. We're people of African descent, but we have this layer of that. We don't believe we can even make history.
Yeah. And it's the lack of awareness too, I think. Well, we'll also get into that too, because we realize that we all have been to Africa. So shout out to that, because I think that's a big deal. It is a big deal. I don't even think it's a big deal. So I know for me, working in schools, I think when we were working together, I had went to Africa and then I came back to Bethune, and going into schools in Africa and then coming back and seeing our kids, I'm like, it's confusing because, and it's not confusing, but it can confuse you, because those kids, the teachers I was in Tanzania, and at that school, they were in a meeting, and the children were in the classes by themselves, governing themselves and working. You would not see that at Bethune Middle School. So for me, I was just like, wow. And then going back into the classroom and seeing different things, I was just like, it's their lack of awareness of who they are. Those kids know that they come from the soil. They know that what they have is rich. Their heritage is rich. These kids literally think that the block is their history and what their dads did, or even if they know that far back, they're just like, whatever is here, this is what we're proud of. But to literally know where you come from, right, to know the heritage, to be able to put on the garb and wear that with
recognize your
pride.
print.
Yeah, you go into spaces differently, and I'm like, that with our kids, that was a thing.
That's a fact. You're right, because at your core, you just built right at that point. You can develop properly.
Yeah.
You can have like a sense of self and confidence that is really unmatched. Like
Yeah.
it's limitless based on your potential and just what you feed into it. Because I don't want to get my man in trouble, but he was teaching his son how to drive, and his son is like 4. I got the video.
Wait, where in Africa?
Yeah. He sent me a video of it, and it was fire though.
Go
you know what I mean?
Because
it looked fake.
Though,
you know what I mean?
Never know.
Like the kid was so focused and concentrating, and it was like, damn, like he really doing it. But it was, they safe just on a little back road or whatever,
right?
And they going 10 miles an hour.
Yeah, I think it's just a certain level of expectation that's different in the between people that are growing up in Africa and then just growing up out here and having so many resources just kind of taken away from you. A lot of kids aren't expected, they're not encouraged to go outside the block. You know what I'm saying? They're not encouraged to go see what the beach is like, or I'm taking my kid to just Lamert Park, like things that's up the street.
Thing
That's
that you just said, I'm taking my kid.
Yeah.
I'm taking my kid.
Taking their kid nowhere.
And that's a
Right.
generational thing. Like if your grandparents didn't have expectations of your parents, how is it that your parents will have expectations of you? And it's not always 100% in our community, because I know for a fact there was expectations that my parents had for me, that there was no way that I could not excel or succeed in this. And that shaped who I am today. So I'm grateful for that. But a lot of our kids don't have that. They don't have anybody to look up to.
Yeah, you just said it though, mom and dad. Like even just the balance of that, that's already a benefit. That puts you ahead of the curve out here.
Yeah.
And we just using our city as like a benchmark. But I would imagine that the way LA was in like, let's say like the early mid 90s, that's probably how it is in like Kentucky or like,
Detroit.
You know what I mean? Detroit, right? Like, so they probably have way more single parent households than we have out here right now.
Yeah.
I don't know though. I'm not there, but I just know poverty has a lot to do with it.
For sure.
And it's just interesting to see like poverty over there is a non-factor. You know what I mean? They still know who they are. They still got family.
Yeah.
They still together.
Yeah, I remember I think it was like my second day in Cape Town, and it was a Sunday or whatever day. I think it was a Sunday. They were having church, and people were walking barefoot to church, smiling, like literally happy. They were, outside, not too many resources. Churches out here, we got drums, everything all shiny, whatever. But
churches out here,
they was doing a
It's
thing,
a concert.
but people were just happy, and you see people here that's going, paying their tithes, doing this, doing that, and they still miserable.
Like
They
that's the
still
word
unhappy,
though. Miserable.
and ungrateful.
And ungrateful, yeah.
Like you woke up today and you able, you know what I'm saying? There's people all around the world that's not able like you, and you're not grateful for that.
And it's a mental thing. I think just as I've traveled even outside of Africa, where you'll see a spirit of gratitude for even the smallest thing, right? Like even in the space that we're in now, like someone being happy, not even to have walls, but to have like 10, like the aluminum like walls up in a space like this, and they would be like grateful and happy, like you said, walking around barefoot. But I think here, there, and that can tie into why, the pull with us as a Black community, like the two different sides, where you have some of us who are not really grateful for what the communities before us did or the generations before us did. And they're just like, no, well, I feel like we've seen them in like Tyler Perry movies where you have the mom, right, who had the house or whatever, and she like is still in that small home, but she's cooking the big dinners. And then her daughter probably went to college, or the son went to college, and she don't want nobody to come around. Or at the end of the episode, the show, she's going off on the mom like, this is that and the other. Like, don't nobody, want to be around you or whatever. Like, this is the broke mentality or whatever. And it's like, you wouldn't be where you are if it wasn't for her sacrifices. And unfortunately, sometimes people make sacrifices and they don't see the fruit of their labor or within themselves. The fruit of their labor, is shown through their kids or through the next generation. Like Martin Luther King, he didn't get to experience this.
Yeah.
But we shouldn't look at him and go, well, he was not effective. Well, look at the life that he lived. And it's like, no, because we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be able to do the things that we're doing if it wasn't for him. And you get a lot of, Black people, and I feel like the lack of gratitude comes from that space of not really being aware, and just kind of feeling like, oh, well, they were slaves and they were this and they were that, but I'm not that. Like, you'll hear Black people like, we're not enslaved anymore. And it's like, okay, like, but there's a lot that's going on that shouldn't be normal. Like,
yeah, you're letting a lot slide. And I think maybe just the connotation of Black history has to evolve from like, okay, this is accomplishments since slavery in context. Like, long as we just have the real conversation.
Yeah.
Like we're saying, like a lot of I think adding to it helps a lot, but then having a real conversation of like, okay, where are we going? What we doing?
Yeah.
What's deeper than what we've been taught, because a lot of people don't know, and a lot of people want to talk about it.
Yeah, a lot of people want to talk about it. They just don't know where to start.
Yeah.
Or if they gonna sound crazy.
And you're talking about Black people or non-Black people or everybody?
I'm speaking, I guess, for Black people, like they want to talk about it. I mean, non-Black people, it just depends on who they are as an
and they can talk about it. They do.
They do.
It may not always be the right conversation.
I want to be politically correct, and it's like, just say how you feel. Let's just have a conversation. You're not gonna offend me by telling me your opinion, or it's your opinion. Yeah. So, if you want to know at what point do we get over slavery, I may have an answer for that. Or I can't be the spokesperson for all Black people, but I can say, I don't think there is going to be a point. I think it's going to always be something that's a part of our history.
No, for sure. And well, we're not going to take a break, but this will be another space for advertisement. Hopefully we get some soon. I just have to put them together and then we'll have them. But yeah, we're going to take a break because they're not a break. I keep saying that, but the good news is evolving and stuff, so things will be a little different. So I'm trying to get into the groove of that because there will be actual breaks and like visual commercials. So that's that. But we're gonna get back to the conversation.
Yeah, they unionizing on y'all.
But it's just a lot to unpack, and I think one of my. Like yesterday, I was downtown getting merch, and the people that I do business with are, no, they're not Chinese. They're Arabic. So is that the correct way to say it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So, a few other things I could think of. No,
oh Lord. So I'm sitting there, and now I've been going to them for a while, and because they speak broken English, they're always like, "Oh, Black History Maker," or new Black History or whatever, no, right? So they'll do that. So yesterday I was sitting there. So they're saying Black History Maker or New Black History every time that they see me. So that's something that has become a regular. Yeah. So yesterday I'm sitting there and I'm waiting for one of my orders to come, and the guy he's a little younger, so he's a little more like Americanized than the dad and his older brother. But he goes, so when does Black History Month start? And I'm like, in that moment you have the choice to either be upset or to understand that it probably was an innocent question. And
for sure was.
Right. And or you could spaz, or you could just be like, okay, here's the answer. And I'm like, oh, well, it's all of February. Like, it's actually almost over. And he's like, wow, like, and he's asking me like, so what do you guys do? Like, do you guys have like, family get-togethers? And I was like, the things that he was saying were, and I'm like, it would make sense to do
That's
that.
crazy. So
And
what do we do, y'all?
Do you guys have reunions or whatever?
What do y'all do?
Walk around a little bit more powerful.
What y'all do?
But it made me think like, wow, that would. And I know there's some families that get together for like Juneteenth because that's a day, right? Or we've been seeing that a little more within the past 2 years.
Especially now that we off work. I'm lit.
Right. But I'm like, it made me think like, well, what are we doing outside of when you were in school, when you had, maybe a presentation or something,
a play, all type of stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
But as adults,
fun.
like, I guess let's go to that question. What do you do during Black History Month?
I dress different. I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah.
I dress different.
I'm always in Leimert Park, but I guess like it's a little bit more
I'm in
special.
Leimert every day now. That's what you do.
Right,
you
every
go
day.
more often.
Every day.
Breakfast, lunch, and dinner in Leimert.
Burning the sage. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Like for myself, I just focus more on my mental health. I just kind of think about like, why is this month important to me? Like this month, I'll be honest, like out of all the years that I've celebrated Black history, this has probably been the one where I've like not really done anything but just enjoy being Black.
Yeah.
Although I do it every day, it's like this month is like, hey, you know what?
Yep. Let's stress this month.
Let's stress.
Yeah, for sure.
Nothing's gonna stress
like,
me
hey,
out.
that's what it should be for Black History Month. Black people, we taking the time off.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
Right.
We call it off work whenever we feel like it.
Right.
I'm telling you.
And there was a reel that was going around, and the lady, she's getting her food or whatever, or they bring the check, and it's a white guy, and she's like, oh, this doesn't have the Black History Month special on it. And he's like, she was like, no, I'm just kidding or whatever. But I'm like, that could be a thing. Y'all give police officers and people that are in the military deals and stuff. Like,
we need our reparations one discount at a time.
Hey, one discount at a time. I'll take it.
Yeah. And I think too, a lot of things changed after the whole post like George Floyd situation.
Yeah.
Where a lot of things
way
were
more respect.
Different.
Yo, I didn't never got that much respect from cops. I done got pulled over like a couple times since then. I'd be more nervous on how they gonna act, but they be like in and out, just doing their job, keeping it by the book. I'm like, damn, no extra shit talking today, bro.
Right.
I'm waiting for it. Like, thank you for the ticket, sir. Right, all that. I'm waiting on any of that. Like, ask me to get out the car, please. I'm waiting. I'm anticipating it.
I think, for 8 minutes and what was it, 8 minutes and 40 seconds, something like that. I think for everybody that watched that, I think everybody almost felt the same emotion. And
man, that was like 9/11.
Yeah, yeah. And it was. I still get chills thinking about it, and I feel like that shift was needed not only for us as a people, but for humanity. Because if this is okay and you're watching this and you like, oh, okay, go to the next thing. No, like it really captured people's attention.
Yeah.
And had the conversation sparked to where, why are we evil?
We got the results now because shout out to the convictions in the Ahmaud Arbery case. You know what I mean? Like, it wouldn't have happened.
And that was painful to watch. I was in tears watching the verdicts. I'm like, oh. Just guilty this. I'm like, it shouldn't take for
that kind of gruesome
visual.
Yeah. But I'm glad we were here. We're here to see it because Trayvon Martin, you know what I mean? It's the same thing. He got off. You know what I mean? Like Zimmerman is
still
chilling,
walking around free,
man,
suing people with the audacity. Come on,
look. And that's the thing, though. That's pre-George Floyd. That's what the legislature. That's the result of the lack of attention. Now that it ain't happening like that no more. You know what I mean? They know, like, people kind of on edge. It's already a lack of resources. People already got guns.
Yeah.
From the last time.
Right. And for me, it was a little different. I think I went through like a myriad of emotions around that time because, it was heavy in the pandemic, right? And it was just like, it was a lot going on. You seeing Black Lives Matter this and whatever over here.
Black Lives Matter?
Right. But yeah, so for me, it was just like it made me sit back because even though we did see some changes, a lot of things went back to normal or they got worse. So for me, it was kind of like, yo, it don't even make sense for me to sit up here and keep advocating for our lives in front of y'all faces.
Yeah.
You know, because it was like, okay, it's one thing for him to have done that, but there were so many people, even Black people, who justified it.
Yeah.
You know, or who were like, well, he was this or he was that. And it was like, yeah, I'm not. And that's one thing with my position and my brand and my, like, the work that I do. After that time, I started saying, I'm not talking to nobody that's non-Black about how dope or beautiful or necessary we are as Black people. Like, that was my change in conversation. It was just like, for what? Like, what am I, like, y'all watch this and then went out there and act, you know, did whatever y'all did, and then still went back into your workplaces and still allowed certain things to happen. And it was just like, yeah, for that moment when you're watching it and I'm sitting next to you, or you're at your home, and when they did the thing of like, go outside on your porch for 8 minutes, like, yeah, we're in unity for these 8 minutes.
Yeah.
But then when you have to go back to work, when COVID was over and you have to go back into the office, you know, or you have to go back into schools, it was really different. So for me, it was kind of just like, you know what, I'm not even gonna keep talking to y'all about it anymore.
Yeah, I mean, the conversation is over. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, you stop seeing the Black Lives Matter shirts, the bumper stickers, you
Right.
stop seeing the hats, the masks,
The
you know.
yard
Yeah.
signs.
In certain areas, you probably still will see it because a lot of those people were probably hippies, you know, and still is today.
Which is, that's something to talk about too.
But
What?
like
What?
the hippie movement, that's like a civil rights movement. You know what I'm saying? In a different way. It's just those are the people that are really pro Black lives, you know, outside of us. But you do have conversations with people who are a little ignorant and don't really understand what the whole movement was about. They like, oh, I just want to go out and be a part of the protest.
Because there was nothing to do.
It was nothing to do. That was it. And I
Yeah.
think that was a beautiful time in history because we were in a pandemic and you have thousands of people all across the world.
Yeah, across the
a
world.
world that's affected in
Mhm.
London, these different places, and they're like, this has to stop. We have to stop police brutality.
All right.
And so I just feel like, hey, you don't want to wear the paraphernalia, that's cool, but it's all about your actions.
Yeah. What are you doing when you go back into sad places?
Yeah, it's okay to say you can go in front of me if we at
Mhm.
Starbucks.
Right.
Know, let me go.
Right.
It's all good. I shouldn't have to wait in
Actually,
line.
pay for my Starbucks.
Yeah, okay.
Right. So then, okay, back into the Black History Month conversation. How does Black History Month and whatever we do or don't do affect those kind of things? Where you have the Ahmauds, you have the Trayvons, you have the George, Breonna Taylor.
Yeah. That's a good question. You know, I feel like that's a question that needs some real seasoning and attention, you know, because honestly, I don't know. Only thing that came to mind is we should do a Million Man March every February. We should gather every year to show like we mean business.
Yeah.
You know, not just when this is on camera or CNN and somebody is murdered. No, we mean business all the time. Like, stop killing us. Let our kids grow up. Let them make it to HBCUs or wherever they want to go.
Yeah.
It's come on, like, I'm getting upset.
And I think that's a
Exactly.
thing. What is the quote? I feel like I should know this, but to be Black and American in this country is to be at a state of like rage all the time or something.
Yeah, it's something like that. And that's real, you know, because it sparks these emotions that we have inside of us that sometimes we don't even know lay dormant.
Yeah.
And so,
And that's crazy because that's trauma. And it's like, you know, it is. And then you have the people that are like, well, you guys give this mental attention or attempt to give it to people that were in the military. But when it comes to what y'all did to us, I think there was a video going around and they were like, okay, after, you know, Africans were enslaved and stuff and you guys, you know, set them free or whatever, did you guys offer mental, you know, services to them? No. Okay, then after the like civil rights movements, after the segregation, did you guys offer mental services? And it's like no. So then now you had the Trayvon era, the George Floyd. Did you offer mental services? No. So then how are we supposed to be okay?
Yeah, mental health actually has recently become a trend.
Mm-hmm.
Like people most recently have,
That's what you were saying.
wanted or put emphasis on mental health, and like you see all these billboards and commercials and stuff. But in reality, it should have always been something that we thought about. But I think this with development, people that were around back then don't know what we know today.
Yeah.
Well, I think also it had to start with just us learning to value health. Because I remember, when I was in high school, everybody wanted to go to the gym all of a sudden. That was just the thing. Like growing up, transitioning like 05, 06, you started seeing like a lot of 24-hour fitnesses. They used to be the Magic Johnson 24-hour fitness. They used him for marketing to, smooth it into LA. I get it. And it was, I noticed that once they took his name off of him because it was a contractual thing. It was like, we're only going to use your name for like 15 years or however long the contract was, 10 years. I don't know his business, but I just know they changed the names of the gyms.
Yeah.
I know they popped up in LA all over the place because in LA, it used to be just like LA Fitness and like Bally's.
Yeah. Bally's, yeah.
Yeah. And then, once that became the thing and we were just, a workout vein type of city like a Miami.
Yeah.
People started valuing their health more is all I'm saying. And now, 10 years later, you have mental health being a thing.
Right.
So
Yeah.
And my thing has always been accessibility, because even when you look at our grandparents or great grandparents, like we're like the first, I'll say either the first or one or two generations removed from them being segregated and them not being being able to have access to certain things.
Yeah.
So a lot of what we're getting and what we're experiencing is new to the Black community.
Yeah.
And then you have to think about it. What would it have been like for a Black person to try and get therapy in the 50s? Like, or let's say that you do go and you sit down with one of the seeming to be good white people.
Yeah, it would have been like, what you crying for?
Would have been more trauma added on. It's like, dang, I left
Yeah.
feeling worse than when I came in.
It would have been
here.
victimizing. You know how
Right.
they always say, don't blame the victim. That's all it would have been like, oh, it's y'all fault. This is what your history is.
Right.
And I feel like that's what the conversations may have been like back then, and it would have just led to more trauma today. And it's kind of weird to say that, but it's almost, I'm not gonna say it's a good thing they didn't get like therapy back then, but in a way, it has built what it is today.
Yeah.
Because they would have had to fight through all those different laws and just a bunch of stuff.
And even Black people being able to become therapists.
Yes.
So that's something that, we look at it and it's like, okay, there's Black there, even though the numbers are low, but it's like, okay, well, there are Black there, right? Like I can talk to one. I think there's maybe 2 more on this network. And then like, I know Black male therapists, I know Black, female therapists, but that wasn't a thing. That being able to feel safe in, or being able to have a conversation with a therapist and you be able to give us game, but then also in the way that Black people would understand it, right?
Right.
So I think there's a lot to be said about the access and the fact that in 2022, we are now getting access to certain things that just were not available to our ancestors.
Yeah, it's the resources, but we fought for those resources.
Exactly.
For
I was
sure.
about to say, we, put ourselves in position to get insurance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. I wonder what's next. Like, speaking of Black future, right? So
Right.
like, where do we go from here as, a Black people that knows themselves and celebrates their heritage and all of that? What, like, then what?
I feel like it's just our job or duty to like really encourage our people to do it. Like get more in tune with who they are as a person. Because if you don't know yourself, you don't know anything. You don't know anybody.
Right.
So you're not going to understand this conversation that we're having. It's like, oh, they're just mumbo jumbo. They talking about Black stuff. Oh, okay. Anyways, next. But no, actually get to know who you are. Get to know yourself. Like, don't think that because you might not have studied it the way we've studied it, that it's impossible for you to learn. Be gentle with yourself. Let's start there.
Right. Yeah, because the Black History thing, like, we are, Black history makers. So our kids or out the generations, our nieces and nephews, and their kids will be sitting here talking about whatever it is that we did today. So for me, it's we all have a different fight in this or different role in this like fight, right? So for me, like I said, I don't go sit and talk to non-black people about black issues and what I want them to do. That's not me, but there are some people who can do that and they're effective in it. And I'm not one to tell you not to go talk to those white people. I'm just saying that I'm not doing it. But
Right.
I think we all have to realize like our role in it. Is your role to be on the home front, or is your role to create a presentation because you work in a predominantly white space, and to say, hey, this is not going to be things that we're only incorporating for the month, but I'm going to have a
Yeah.
plan for the year, and we're going to revisit it next February. So that's what Black History Month is, us revisiting what y'all did right and what y'all did wrong. But we're going to implement stuff for the whole
Yeah,
year,
nah, that's a
but
fact.
we all have different roles, and not everybody's is to create. I mean, we've all created spaces for Black people, even
Right.
though other people have been able to benefit from it. I think it does stem from the point of we needed something. So
Yeah, and
that not everybody is going to be a creator. Not everyone is going to create a brand, but there is something that you can do.
Yeah, it's something that you can show up.
yeah, just contribute to the community, right, in a positive manner. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Whether that's just being a member of the congregation somehow, or offering your ideas to help further and shape brands, because a lot of these companies that are brands, I want our community to compete, right, with other communities and what they've created. So if we looking at premier brands of Nike and Apple, you know what I mean? Like, we got a long way to go as far as how many people we putting in a room for marketing to get, some of our companies to these levels where they generating that much revenue. Cause
Right.
Yeah.
that's what it's about at the end of the day, is how much money are y'all making so that y'all can have a certain quality of life. Because
Right.
we talking about resources, we talking about, health. Well, one of my mentors tells me all the time, health is wealth. And it is no, coincidence that the people with money are the ones, having a better quality of life, eating better, etc.
Yeah.
It's a mindset though,
That's what I was thinking too. Yeah.
because before that wealth came, it's like health is wealth.
Mhm.
Like
Definitely,
they
yeah.
were mentally prepared. They start preparing themselves to become wealthy. And it starts with what you think and what you digest. What are you reading? What are you
Mhm.
listening to?
Exactly.
What are you
Exactly.
looking at? Like how are you perceiving the people that's in front of you? Like, and like if someone look at you and they don't see someone that actually helps people with their mental health, they might prejudge you.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
Yeah.
You
But
know,
at the same time, I think we're in control of that as well. Like, you can
As
be
an
intentional.
individual, or
Yeah, you could be. She just said, excuse me,
Well,
your diet, right?
yeah, your
Like,
diet.
I don't know if I should be telling people, but I think you did say in the beginning about you haven't ate meat all week. That's
Mhm.
intentional. And that's because you wanted to shift your energy.
Mm.
So, as long as we know what we're doing, because we know ourselves, we know how we feel, we know we don't feel good, right? But some of us are so numb and used to just feeling bad.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. You put on this facade that's like I look good on the outside, but really inside I'm dying.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
And I think what can be compared to that too is internally how you feel about yourself and the pride that you have. Like, even though you may be okay with your health, or you may be okay, or you seem to be okay mentally, but if you don't love who you are and the parts that make you who you are, then that's also a problem. And that's also a way to kill yourself too. Because last week we talked a lot about like suicide and people looking in the mirror and being like, I don't like what I see. And some people take that moment and within a split second, they decide to take themselves out. So
Yeah.
it's like, it's important for you. That's why these conversations are necessary. The work that we're doing is important, because it's like, we want y'all to see yourselves the way that we see ourselves. Like,
Yeah.
that's an
Yeah, so
important piece to the puzzle as well, as like self-love. Like,
Yeah.
it's become like a cliche thing to say, but it's like, no, it's a thing that we have to grab a hold to.
But do you feel like self-love is like that has to be taught or at least guided? because you don't wake up just loving yourself.
You have to, especially as a Black person.
Yeah, especially
there's
as a Black
so
person.
much work that there's so much that I don't even know where I've learned these things as pro-Black as I am when it comes to Black men, when it comes to Black women, when it comes to my self-wear, when it comes to our hair, that I'm like, where did that come from? And I can check it before it even materializes into anything. But you have to think about the people who are not thinking that ahead of themselves, where they're like, no, this is anti-Black. And then also giving yourself grace and going like, no, it's not that you're anti-Black, but you grew up in an anti-Black society, in an anti-Black school system. Probably went, have friends, like you watch anti-Black television. Like if we go look at these cartoons, like these cartoons were not
like the PJs.
cool. Yeah, like so I think that's the thing too, where you have to, especially as Black people, whether you have children or it's just you yourself, you have to teach yourself how to love yourself and then give yourself grace as you are. Because when you start doing that work, you're gonna be like, yeah, as a Black person, it's some like trenches that you got to work through because they really did us wrong.
Yeah,
like they really have done us wrong. So
yeah, because a lot of our imagery was strategic. It wasn't natural, and that's the thing. If you do the history, that's why Black history is important, because you can retrace it. You can really do Black images in media, history of that, right? And just seeing the cartoon images and the way they've evolved, etc. Even just our roles in movies and Black leads, and how that's why somebody like Denzel is important. You know what I mean? Because he's our recent legend in the film. Like, you got the Harry Belafontes as well. And I don't know, I think it's important to be well versed in history. Kids, it's cool to know your history.
Yeah, actually, it's dope to know your history. You know what I'm saying? Like at this point in life, that should be the only thing that you want to know is like, who am I? Like, if you don't want to know, if you don't want to start off knowing like how much of a king or queen that you are, at least start to learn why people treat you a certain way.
Yeah.
Or why you looked at a certain way. Or why they allow for this type of music to go mainstream, but then you have artists that are fighting to get their voices heard that really want to put something into you.
Yeah.
Like going back to what you were saying about Kanye, like Kanye said, I'm not about to rap about something I'm not about. I'm not about killing and this and that. So I'm going to talk about what I know. And I'm going to put stuff into our people to where they feel like, I can. Like I feel like that song, who made that? I know I am. Nas. Yeah. Oh, my bad, Nas. You feel me?
Nas on a crazy run right now too.
But that was real. You had kids all in the video. I know I can, be what I want to be, and that's important. Don't feel like you can't be anything because you never seen it before, or it's not in your everyday life, or your uncle or this person isn't that person. Be that person.
Yeah. And it's crazy because y'all know I say it on the show all the time, or if you know me, I'm preacher's kid. I'm real churchy, but my dad, we didn't listen to anything else, but my dad would let me listen to that song when I was growing up, but we listened to nothing but gospel. But I remember he used to let me listen to that. But because it's such a message there, and it's like,
it's
even as
song.
adults, we have to take in that message, right? And like, I challenge y'all to go back and listen to that song. Like those of y'all that are listening and just feel like, we can be, and that's why it's important to learn our history, because you have to learn where the place that America had us in. And
yeah, exactly.
And then to see why it's so important, or why we're so like beautiful now, why we're worth celebrating now, to really understand like
the magnitude. And that's why the people in Africa really celebrate us. You know what I mean? Because you do have some social status over there. You get a boost as being a Black American, because not too many of us make it back home, so to speak. And that's what they say. It's like, welcome back home.
Yeah.
That's what they told me anyway.
They told me that.
You're like, I don't know what they told y'all. But
it's a good feeling to get embraced. Yeah. And you are going to come across the haters too.
It is beautiful.
You know what I mean? I'm glad we had experiences where, we weren't necessarily the most welcomed or supported. Because I've had people over there like, oh, you think you the shit? Like, let's step outside. Like, trying to fight. I'm like, damn, bro.
Like, what's really the problem?
And that's interesting too. And I think, so for me, I went to Asia first. That was my first out of the country trip, and then a year later I went to Africa, and people were like, "Why didn't you go to Africa first?" And I'm like, "Well, because the Asia trip came up first. I wasn't gonna say no to Asia." But I was like, going to Asia first, even though I, have experienced life as a Black woman, or a Black female my whole life. Going to Asia first helped me be more grateful being in Africa and having them welcome me. Because it was one thing to be in Asia and it was like, okay, this is a different experience. Like they were like looking at us like, what are y'all? But then when you went to when I went to Africa, it was like, welcome, like welcome home, like sis. I mean, they called me sister more than they called me sister out here. Like it was just a welcoming thing. And I did have some conversations where they were like, well, what y'all doing out there? Like, why aren't all of y'all like Oprah? Why aren't all of y'all like Obama? And I'm like, well, let me run down a list. Let me give you a little quick lesson real quick. And they were receptive to it. And I would often tell people like after, it was very equivalent when I would tell them the things that were going on here to like you talking to like a long lost cousin, right? And you got removed from the family and you're telling them like, yeah, you remember when this happened and this happened? And you're like, yeah, we're a part of that group that y'all don't talk about no more, or that y'all didn't see. Like when your grandparents say that this person never came back, like that was us, and their faces were kind of like, oh yeah, we did hear about y'all.
That's deep, too, to put it into that perspective. That we're descendants of descendants who never return. So it's pictures of our people that we will probably never know or see ever. But they see them, and that's our bloodline, and that's just that's a cool perspective.
And it's like you get to see your people on TV because all they see us as is like superstars because that's the only images they get, really. You know what I mean? It's the celebrities, the Waynes, the Drakes, the Wiz Khalifas, and all that.
And that's a whole nother conversation, because the imagery, they're making it seem like we're in the mainstream media that everyone is a hip hop artist or some type of entertainer. But in reality, there's not a lot of emphasis on people that's like us, educators or like being broadcasted. If you like, why did Hidden Figures, the movie, take so long to come out? Right? Like, wait, question.
Yeah, man.
Why did right? And we ate it up, so many people went to see that movie. Why did it take so long for Black Panther to come out? And it's stuff like that I feel like that's what we should start fighting for, that change in how we are perceived in the world.
We're on a mainstream level.
On a mainstream level. We're not just one type of person, we're all type of people. So you have I was actually on Revolt TV and I seen an artist that's popping in Africa right now. I forgot what part. But he's rapping like he's from out in the States. It's like, nah,
that's what they do. Honestly, they want to get over here just as bad as we want to get over there. Like how we be like, dang, we can never go to Africa. They like, man, I wish I can go to the States. That'll never happen. I really want to go.
There's also a stigma around going to Africa, though. I talk to a lot of people that's like, I'll never go to Africa. I don't never want to go to Africa.
I heard that
it's like, why? Like, one of my biggest goals right now is to take my mom, and she's so against it. She's like,
I'm not anti.
She's like, I don't want to go to Africa.
Wow.
I'm not gonna say all the comments she made. She's like, I don't want to go to Africa.
And that's a thing too, where I'm big on. So saying Africa, right, and not to what you're saying, but when people are like, oh well, Africa is this, Africa is that, and I'm like, well, you know that Africa is the continent. There's countries on there, and you can, if you want to go to the waterfront, you can go to that. If you want to go more, in like, inland, you can go to that too. And I'm like, there's different things, but we've been so conditioned to view Africa as this one thing,
desolate,
with no culture,
place.
Like just one culture. They all do one thing, and they're all walking around with like the bowls on their head, and that's it. And then there's lions walking around, and then they all live in tents. Because when I went, people were like, where are you going to stay? And I'm like, in an Airbnb. Like, you got Airbnbs out there? Yeah.
They got hotels, luxury.
Right. I mean, it's money out there too.
Like, everyone think it's just feed the children. I'm not running from no lions.
Bro, this last time I stayed, it was in like a gated community, and everybody in the community had private security. And it was like on the front of their thing. Like,
yeah, we're really royalty, and that's the gap right there, because going into, Black history, they're talking about American Black history.
Yeah.
They're not talking about, that moment in the Middle Passage, and before that, you know, before kingdom started to fall and stuff like that. And that's the problem that I feel like we have today as a people, is that we lack that little piece of knowledge of like, there are still people that are still royalty today, till this day, and they're very successful. They're not running from lions and rhinos,
Right.
you know.
Man,
They're
can we get
not-
some sound effects?
Right.
Does that
Go
deserve
ahead.
like a round of applause?
They're not running from lines. And it's crazy because even the most intelligent, they have that like anti-black in them, or that self-hate.
Man.
And for me, like,
Yeah.
if you are a self-hating black person, I don't care what kind of money you got. I think now, I don't do the whole I'm better than you type of thing, but I know that the pride that I have in my heart is going to take me to different places, or when I go to bed at night, like I'm more at peace, because or when I look at myself in the mirror, like I know that my experience here on this earth, whether you got money or not, but it's an easier ride for me. Like just knowing that I have this love, or knowing that I am, you know, or that we are educated in our history and know about what's going on. Like it's different, but you have so many people who have fell victim to like the system, and
it's a privilege to
didn't try to fight out of it.
It's a privilege to have this skin.
Yeah.
You know, and
the world may not make it feel like it, but
yeah,
it is.
And I tell people that all the time, because they like, you know, you pro-black, you know where to go get the herbal stuff and this and that. And I'm like, yo, you the resources is there. You know what I'm saying? You can do the same thing that I'm doing. So just have pride in who you are. Like, don't look at your skin as a ball and chain. You know, we're not shackled anymore unless you are a slave to your mind. And I feel, you know, when they quote Harriet Tubman, like, I would have freed 1,000 more had they knew they were slaves. And that's still relevant to today. Like, this conversation we have, and we're going to break barriers, and people's minds are going to open up, but it's going to be so many people that watch this, and they're going to stay a slave to their mind. And it's okay if you don't like what I said. You know, I'm just being honest with you. Like,
oh, it's real. It's real, because we need to start talking about that. You know, there's so many people who are like, oh, get over slavery. And it's like, okay, well, there's still more things to talk about. Like, we haven't even really dealt with slavery. Like, we haven't really dealt with that. And then back to what we were talking about when, you know, the Africans were brought over here and they were enslaved, like the loss of, like, even though there was a time period, there was so much more lost in that time period of them traveling here and getting here. And then when the offspring was had, it was just like there's no connection to back there, or there was nobody to say, hey, you can go back to so and so, your family is back there. And then there was no way, like, we can buy tickets, but we've just now started really going. And it's like, imagine back then where you're like, I don't even know. Yeah, you traveling by ships and stuff, and it's like, how do I even get back?
Further than that, like 70 years ago, nah.
Like, you free to go back, you know. You're not free to roam around America. Like, you go back to the motherland, you know. And it's a reason they call it the motherland.
Right. They know what's up. For sure, they know what's up. This was a good conversation.
Cool. Yeah, nah, definitely, man.
Yeah.
Well-rounded for sure.
Yeah.
Appreciate y'all for y'all game and y'all perspective, and
you too,
guiding the convo.
Yeah, this is very rejuvenating. You know, it really feels good to talk to like-minded people sometimes.
Yeah, and it was a quick hour. Like, I ain't gonna lie, that blew by.
Yeah.
We gotta have y'all. I was gonna ask something else, but I forgot. But we definitely, well, now she knows. We definitely gotta have you back. It's an open door. So, you know, when we have different topics and stuff, and just wanted to pull people in. And I know you had hit me because I had posted it, but it was a conversation that I really wanted to have. Like, you know, I think there's an importance, and I think there's more. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say that's a good strategy to have the conversations you want to have with the people that want to have them.
Yeah,
like you said, you reached out, you wanted to have it.
Yeah. Rather than just having somebody in here and them like, you know, because, and not that I thought that this was gonna happen today, but somebody could come in here and be like, no, Black Future Month. You know, that's what we do. And it's like, it's not about Black Future Month or Black History Month. It's about how are we gonna move forward?
Yeah,
and
or
what
build
are we
on
gonna
what we
do?
got.
Yeah.
Like, what is it about? Because is it important? Yes, I agree. It is. It's important.
Every day we wake up Black is important.
It's shout out to DJ Gamray in the chat. It's so much to talk about when it comes to Black people. No, it really is. I mean, that's why this show is the thing.
Yeah, that's why you are streaming them along.
Gamray is all in the comments.
Yo,
I'm sorry.
Yo, she neglected all that gems. I see some of the stuff he said. Astra's husband. Yo, that's so funny, bro. I forgot what I was talking about, but Astra husband.
Oh, the kid?
Nah, it's a dude that we know.
Oh, the
there.
rapper?
Nah, it's just a guy over there.
The American dream is real.
One of my haters.
That's
That's probably what we was talking about.
Oh, the fight.
Yeah.
That's a good point right there, though. The American dream is real and more realistically attainable to people from other countries.
Oh yeah, nah, that's
because
real.
we like, what dream they talking
And we
about?
So
stayed
you
at
know
the
what's
penthouse.
crazy?
We
When I
did.
was driving
and we go
here,
get another one.
right? When I was driving here, and normally, so I'm anti the American flag, right?
Yes.
Anti all of it. And you know, if you
I'm
know me,
coming
you
in here
know.
red, white, and blue next time.
But I'm anti that. So I never understand why I'll say Black people specifically will wear it, or they'll parade it, or say I'm proud to be an American. And I think it is one of those things where you will have foreigners that will come out here that maybe not in a actual conversation, but they'll be able to separate themselves like, oh, I'm not like those Black people that are out here. You know, we're different.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
that happens for sure.
and they get to leverage themselves in different ways. So for me, it's like I just never understand it, but that makes sense. It's just the American dream is not for us, and that's why a lot of us have went into entrepreneurship, and a lot of us have found other avenues to bring our money. Some of us, you know, have made it, you know, work, but then also I feel like a lot of people that have made it work are being of service, you know, and they're being examples in their field, or they're being, you know, like therapy, right? Where that's something where you're being able to help.
Yeah.
But that American dream thing is like, wait, what is the dream? Or why would I be proud to be American? Like,
I have no connection to that flag. Like,
none,
like at all.
All right, man, you're about to get us banned from.
Oh, well, yeah.
From where? This is the independently owned radio show.
Man, look.
Radio station, and it's Black owned.
Holla. You see all this red, black, and green up in here?
Right. And we stayed at the penthouse. Oh, y'all was living large out there.
Nah. And when we go back, it's gonna be even bigger.
He said, American dream is not for us because we have nowhere to send our money back to grow. And that's real. I know a lot of foreigners that will come to school out here, and they will send money that they're making working back home.
For
know, and you know, like he said, we don't have nowhere to send no money back to.
We don't even want to dual citizenship.
No, it don't even flip. You can't send it back from LA to Compton. It don't work.
Right. I'm a cash app you.
What's your sale?
Right. But no, that's real. And I think it's important for us to just be more giving of these kind of conversations. And then also, like, you know, Michael was saying, if you're not, I mean, people are always like, oh, you're pro-Black. I'm not as pro-Black as you. And I'm like, I'm not pro-Black. I just care about Black people. You know, that's it.
Pro-Black. It's either you is or you ain't.
No, but I'm saying it in terms, like, it doesn't need to be a thing where I think Black people should care enough about Black people to know what I know.
Yeah,
I don't think I know. There's like,
you can't consider yourself kind of pro-Black. Like, that means.
Oh, you're saying for them?
Yeah, because are people kind of pro-choice?
No,
right? Like, not as I'm not as pro-choice as you pro-choice.
Right.
What you mean? Either we with this or not. Like, that's all I'm saying.
Right. Yeah, it's no in between when it comes to that. Yeah.
So can we? You gonna give us the outro?
Oh, you ready to go?
Yeah, he said he's about to give us a whole nother round of combo.
All right, Nash is ready to go.
No, I didn't know you. I thought you was already wrapping it up.
Well, no, I was wrapping up, but then Gamma Ray's comments came up.
Oh,
yeah, we be. Yeah. All right, Nash is ready to go.
Hey, look, I thought it was an hour. My bad.
What is it?
It's max hour and a half. But,
okay, cool. My bad. Look, so for 20 more minutes.
Well, I did want to bring up the fact that, like, where are the like, let's not use pro-Black, but where are the like-minded people like us, right? There's no one place that we all go and hang out and just like.
You just said they'd be in Lamar.
I mean, yeah, but that's a given, you know. But you can find a riffraff and all of
everywhere, right?
Everywhere in different spaces, but where is like the Black people that just want to have a good time and actually just want to chill. Most of the time it's a pop-up or it's like this or that. You know, we not really hanging out like that. In my opinion, I just feel like I go out and I see a whole lot of people getting wasted. I just want to see a whole lot of people actually having fun, being Black, you know, just enjoying themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if there's a lot either. Because I know, one, when I come on the show, right, the people that I have come on the show are like-minded, right? Where, we're able to talk. So I know in this space, and that's what I try to, like, create here, where it's like, I'm not looking for nobody that's on top of the hill or whatever to have these conversations. Like, I want people that I know, like, because I know some dope people, like, to come in here and provide, shed a light. But there is no, like, hub or place that we can,
like, we spend time, like, we fellowship, we eating and we enjoying each other's company versus to, like, it's always like rah rah rah. Like,
it's tough because people think Atlanta is like the Black Mecca, and it is, but like you'll get robbed out there.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? Like,
what did they call them? The water boys?
Exactly. They got different, like how we got so many different sets of gangs. They have different sets of robbing crews.
Yeah.
So yeah, Atlanta, you just got to be on your toes. But it's the Black Mecca, right? That's where you're supposed to go to love being Black.
That's what they say. You know, I love being Black everywhere I'm at.
No matter where we are.
Yeah. So I just feel like out here we don't have that space. You know.
Yeah, we need more lounges. That's all.
And our being in LA, we're not, as a whole, right? Because we don't represent the majority of Black LA.
Nah.
We're not the most proud to be Black out here. Like, and that's something that
a minority in the minority.
They be like, she smell like sage, like that, you know?
Or, oh, you gonna celebrate. And my thing is, like, because I study, or because I pay attention to things and I'm learning, I'm constantly watching videos and stuff. You can't say something to me and ask me about how are things like this, and me not give you a Black response to it. And I feel like there's a lot of reasons. Like, somebody was here and they had asked a question. They were like, well, Black women that are entrepreneurs, like, they have this, just like, they can't be wrong, basically. And I was like, well, because when we are wrong, we're like demonized for it, or we don't get the opportunity to even come back.
Yeah.
We probably are so grateful for the opportunity that we got, because it took so much effort to get there, that we have to come correct. But that's not a question, an answer that everybody is looking for. Like, oh, you making it about race. And it's like, because it is about race.
Yeah,
like,
they say I don't want a history lesson right now.
Right.
Like, real, I've had people tell me straight up, like, yo, everything you saying is good. I don't feel like hearing that right now. Right. And I'm like, dang, I'm just talking. I'm trying to uplift you.
So it's like, well, don't ask me.
Don't
that's
ask
where
me.
my response is gonna come from.
Yeah, and I agree. Like he said, we need a Black hub. Right. I mean, we need a Compton hub, Compton Lounge. We need it to where it's no more beef between the cities, like Long Beach, Compton, LA. Like, it's so many people that think like us in these sectors, but then all you hear is like the negative, like, oh, well, this isn't this and this isn't this. Man, we're Black in the city of Los Angeles, LA County, whatever, Compton, Long Beach, Carson, and it's time for us to unite and really pull.
Stop playing.
Just stop playing. Look, I'm about to start preaching. Stop playing and help shift the minds of the people that feel like we divided because
because everybody don't want to have to get moved out. I mean, I don't want to have to get gentrified.
Man, if I see another avocado toast on the menu, I promise you, I'm gonna lose it.
Right. No, but that's real. I think and then we'll really wrap up. But I get upset, not upset, but I'm like, why do we have to be the ones to always create the things that we need? Where it's like, I want to come somewhere and experience something where I ain't put it together. I'm not doing something. But I understand there's a responsibility for those of us that are more aware or more able.
You know that saying, I don't know if you heard it growing up, but I've heard it a lot. Like, my mom always said, if I don't do it, it's not going to get done.
Yeah, for sure.
And so it's like, if we don't do it, it's not going to happen.
For sure.
And if we don't create the environment and keep the energy on a positive level, we're going to always have that riffraff, that rah-rah.
No, for sure. Well, yeah. So now it's up to us.
Rah-rah, yeah.
But yeah.
Thanks for having me. I enjoyed this, for real.
Yeah, so this is Nash's second time. Thank you for being here.
Yo, man, believe me, I'm coming. I'm trying to get that record.
Yeah, I gotta
You
get my
know,
score up too.
Whoever
you
got the
know?
most
Nobody does.
end of the year.
No, well,
Trust me, it's gonna be you. Duh, right? You gotta be here every
no,
time.
I'm
Yeah,
I'm the
I know.
host.
So just keep my name in your hat, all right?
Of course.
Pull
always
my
in the
name
hat,
out.
both
I'll
of you
be here.
guys. Yeah. We have a lot of shows to do, so definitely gonna need to lean on the community.
Sure.
DJ Gamray said Joe Moses trying to change up
Champ
Inglewood
City
with
Bar. I
Champ
guess
City
I'm gonna have to
Bar.
slide through and
Right.
support.
Do an event there. That's that's the show. But we talked a lot about a lot of different things, and I think for that question, should we celebrate Black History Month or not? It's not a yes or no answer, but there is something that we need to look at in terms of the mindsets that we have towards our history, and how can we create more spaces? How can we be involved? How can we travel more? Get back to the motherland? How can we do those things? So those all kind of like tie in, and they'll help us have more pride about ourselves, because that's essentially what Black History Month is to it's a way to make Black people feel good about themselves, but we should feel good about ourselves, period. 24/7, 7 days out the week, 12 months out the year. So that's that. This is episode 7. We'll be back next week. That is the start of Women's History Month, so we'll be having some Black women in here for every episode, hopefully. And we'll be talking about some real issues.
Yeah,
New
man.
Black
Invite
History
me to
Month.
the What Can Black Women Do Better episode.
We are not starting that.
I'm gonna come through.
We are not starting that. But thank y'all for tapping in with us. We will.
And we out.
I'm so sick of him. Yeah, but that's it. We'll see y'all.
Yo, I'm sorry.
Without the power of God behind everything I do, I really am completely inadequate.